We're going to have a conversation that I've had a lot of requests about in one of those applications that can sometimes feel like the reason not to move to the cloud is Oracle. Now, of course, I say, yeah, what's the topic, please? The topic is all Oracle. It's how the pros and cons of running Oracle in the cloud. So that's where we're going today. And I was challenged, and Ed's going to come up here shortly. Ed works for Oracle. He's an amazing architect, and there's going to be some fun challenges there. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation. We've got a longtime Oracle expert who is a Racker who's going to join up in the conversation. I've got Ed from Oracle who's going to come in and chat with us. Hey, look, everybody's starting to pop in here. Are there opportunities for big data at Rackspace? Absolutely, they are. Daniel, let's get him a link to the jobs. And we got an SAP project specialist from Saudi. Very cool. So that's our topic today. But before we get into the topic, Rackspace, as part of our Solve program, and as you know, Solve is our thought leadership program here at Rackspace. We don't sell stuff, but we just give away great information. Well, one of the things that we do is we go out and we do these quarterly research surveys. Now we're going out and we're talking to thousands of people, 1,420 in this last batch. And we're talking about all things cloud migration, cloud transformation. What is the impact? What are slowing people down? What are the concerns in your IT department? And I want to share one bit of data that came from that. Now there's going to be some fancy white papers that come out, but I'm going to be talking about this content going forward. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is a question that I interjected into the research this time around. And that question is, do you envision a time in the next 5 years, where you won't own a data center? Wouldn't that be interesting? Look at this. We got folks looking for jobs. We got nothing but jobs around here. Daniel, let's get them over to rackspace.jobs. You'll find everything you need over there. So we asked this question. Do you ever envision a time in the next 5 years where you won't own a data center? Daniel, let's bring up the results from these IT decision makers that we interviewed across 10 different countries, 1,420 of them to be precise. Now let's look at this. 56% of them said yes. Yes, they do envision a time in the next 5 years where they're going to be out of the data center. 41% said no, they still see a need for a data center in some construct. And then 3% said, well, they're the movers and shakers in the cloud world, I guess, that they already don't own a data center. Now, this brings up some interesting context for our conversation today, because as one of those most important applications and technologies that helps all businesses, almost all businesses all around the world operate, is Oracle. So here to have a conversation around what it's going to be like to operate those applications in an environment without a data center is Macon Medlin. Now, Macon is an Oracle specialist here at Rackspace, but we also have Ed Shnekendorf, and Ed is, I believe, a longtime Oracle person, but he is a strong architect in all things Oracle and OCI. So that's Oracle's cloud. Let's bring those folks up onto the stage, Daniel, and dig into this conversation a little bit. So, Ed, thank you so much for being a part of the program today, Ed.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Hey, glad you're here. Now, folks, transparency. We thought that you would enjoy this conversation more if it wasn't just a Racker opinion, but we had somebody from Oracle to help round that conversation out. So with as much notice as 24 hours, Ed jumped into here. So Ed, I appreciate your willingness to be here. Macon Medlin also here. Macon, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, so glad that you're here. Now, let's start with a little bit of background because you guys can do more than just spell Oracle. You've been working in and around the technology for a while. So, Macon, you're a Racker. You're a specialist in Oracle here at Rackspace. But let's talk a little bit, just briefly, 30 seconds or so. Tell me about your background in Oracle.
Okay, yeah, and as you say, I'm one of the Oracle solution architects here at Rackspace, focusing on the ERP and data services side. Been working with Oracle since '98. Started out as a database administrator and then became an EBS app DBA. So I've been working with it since 10.7 SC all the way up to 12.2. And then moved over on the solutioning side from the delivery. So a lot of background, a lot of history with Oracle.
Excellent. Looks like you have a friend here. Javinda Kumar seems to maybe know you, or at least welcome you to the program. So, Ed, let's hear a little bit about your background in and around solution architecture and Oracle specifically.
Sure. So my background is I've been with Oracle for 10 years. Previous to that, my experience has been, of course, using Oracle, working with some Oracle technologies, but working with lots of open source technologies as well as a software architect, software developer in both product development and professional services. At Oracle for the last 10 years, started out supporting Oracle's on-premises products in the Fusion middleware space. And then for about the last 5 years, have been a cloud solution architect focusing on Oracle's second generation OCI infrastructure. Right now, I'm working with Oracle ISV customers in the United States.
Incredible, thank you. Now, and you and I were chatting briefly yesterday, and I'm just kind of going, say, hey, we're going to talk about Oracle in the cloud, and what was your response to me?
Well, my response, Jeff, was, "What do you mean by Oracle?" Right? So. And
I think it's good that we pick that apart because it's a big basket of when we say Oracle. It's like saying, hey, we can run Microsoft somewhere.
Exactly.
Right. So our conversation.
I think we lost Jeff. Macon, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I can hear you fine. Yes, we just lost Jeff.
All right, well, let's, looks like he's coming back here.